Good evening, everyone, and good morning to our international attendees from overseas. A warm welcome to you all, and thank you for joining in for the 51st episode of Analytics Wednesday on idea solutions for accounts, ratio analysis, consolidation, and statutory reconciliations. And I'm very privileged to introduce our speaker for this evening. Very happy, Saurabh Patkar. Before I have the distinct privilege of introducing Saurabh, let me just take a couple of minutes and talk about Sam Audit Systems and Software Private Limited. Sam Audit Systems and Software Private Limited has been at the cutting edge of using marketing, supporting, training on tools for data analytics, for ETL tools, for SAP data mining, smart data mining, working paper tools for financial auditors, legal compliance management tools, and we provide end-to-end services in India and the neighboring countries for the last 24 years. This event, that's the 51st event, is supported by the Government of Canada Trade Commissioner Service, and we are very, very delighted to have members joining in from across the globe. I would like to introduce the speaker for this evening, Saurabh Patkar. As many of you know him, he's been closely associated with all of us, and he's helped all of us get idea up and running, the flagship product, over the last 5 to 6 years. He's a business development manager with Sam Audit Systems and Software Private Limited. He's a master's in management studies from the Bombay University, also a business administration graduate from Bombay University, and he's done his diploma in brand management from ICFAI. He has, over the last 5 years, worked with compliance and audit groups of Fortune companies, government departments, accounting firms, academic bodies, leading implementation of technology assurance solutions to test and monitor controls, largely IDEA, that's a flagship product, and Lex Comply, the legal management solution. Driven by a passion for this field, he works very closely with business leaders, the C-suite level, and operating management down the line for the institutionalization of appropriate solutions to help the organization meet their governance, risk, and compliance needs. So it's indeed a real pleasure to have him with us this evening. And without taking much time, I would like to hand over the floor in the evening to Saurabh. Saurabh, over to you.
Thank you, Jaram sir. Let me just share my screen as well.
Yeah, I'll just make you the host, Saurabh. 1 minute. Yes, please.
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
It is, yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes. Great. So once again, welcome everyone for the 51st episode. Thank you, Jaram, for the introduction wonderfully. And a special thanks to GG sir for giving me this opportunity to address the forum today. So I can see a lot of familiar participants for this particular evening. And in the earlier episodes of this particular webinar, we have seen application of IDEA into an internal audit stream, and we have also speakers coming up and sharing their experiences, how they have used IDEA software in terms of identifying and preventing fraud in their respective spaces. But today's topic is slightly different, wherein we are going to see application of a data analytics solution into an accounting stream. So how I've planned my session maybe for the next 45-50 minutes is that first of all, I'm going to give you a quick background about IDEA, just to bring everyone on the same pace. Then we are going to talk and address some of the live case studies on application of IDEA into different streams of accounting, with special attention to statutory reconciliation, ratio analysis, and consolidation. And lastly, we are going to have one live walkthrough of a reconciliation activity, when we see how we can apply the ready-made analytics and the programs available in IDEA software to effectively do that kind of a reconciliation work over here. So firstly, what is IDEA? I'm sure many of you are well familiar with the solution. So IDEA is a simple but very powerful and versatile data and audit analytics solution. It has 100 plus ready to use analytical functionalities for ad hoc analytics. Like we have, a gap detection for underreportings. We have a join function for merging multiple files. We have, duplicate detection. We have sampling and many more. Intelligence analytics with smart analyzers. So not only the pre-built and the custom analytics part, IDEA also offers a pre-built analytics intelligence as well, wherein we have a segment in IDEA called Smart Analyzer, which is a collection of 90 plus audit tests on various ledgers, sub ledgers, like we have for accounts receivable, accounts payable, inventory, fixed assets, and many more. And in the earlier webinar on with Jeffrey Sorensen, he has also confirmed that this particular library is going to grow big in near future, and areas like payroll will also get added to this particular bucket list. So that is something which is very interesting, to look forward in future. Advanced analytics with Idea Lab. Again, a new innovation that we have in the newer versions of Idea, which is the Idea Lab. So what is Idea Lab? It is actually an advanced analytic plugins which are freely available for all the Idea users, which have been developed by industry experts in India. And the teams who is using and inclined towards using the latest technologies and techniques like Python, artificial intelligence, and machine learning capabilities. So all of these applications, it's like a play store which we have for smartphone, wherein if you find an application which is interesting, you go ahead and you download that particular application. On a similar grounds, this particular Idea Lab is a resource library wherein you can actually view an application of a particular app which is available there. And if you find, okay, if that is something which is interesting and helpful in your business premise, you can actually download, and that gets added into your label under the Idea Lab category. So that is something which we have in a lot of interesting stuff, like we have fuzzy join, we have range join, we have activities like Z score calculators, RSF test. So a lot of interesting areas have been covered over here, and those are backed up by a very powerful new capability, which is Python. And then lastly, we have automated analytics with a task scheduler. So another big advantage of switching to a specialized tool like Idea is automation, where you can actually convert your mundane repetitive work through macros and scripts in a very user-friendly manner with a lot of simplicity. And that is a USP of Idea, because if you have seen major business intelligence tool or analytical tools which are present in the market, they are very complex from a auditors or accounting professional point of view, because we are expert in our domain, but we may or may not be having exposure to programming and coding understanding. So from that point of view, automation in Idea is quite user friendly and quite seamless, wherein we can not only convert an activity into a repeatable task, a repeatable program, but we can also do a scheduling of these macro activities as well. And this is a built-in macro scheduler will play a very important role in this particular space, especially into areas wherein we have a lot of users who are using Idea software, who are belonging to a transaction driven industries, typically like an insurance companies or banking segments, wherein you can just imagine the volume of data that they are having. And even a data data download or data extraction process itself take few hours. So it is always better that you schedule these macros in your non-business hours, so that the moment you reach office and you start your productive work, you have the extraction work done already, and then you can actually start with the exception development part. So that is something which we can use with the task scheduler, which is also now built in within Idea environment itself. Now, let me also address some of the new benefits of the latest version, although we had a dedicated episode on this. But let me just reiterate what we have seen in that particular presentation very quickly from an accounting point of view, maybe. First of all, it will boost productivity with the improved user experience and streamlined navigation. So the core focus, as I already mentioned, of the idea development team has always been on the simplicity and delivering a user-friendly application. And that is something what they have also continued in the latest version of idea, wherein they have kept the placement of these functionalities in line with their earlier versions. Why? Because to have a consistency and convenient to your users, because we have seasoned users of idea. There are users who are using it from past few years, and they're comfortable working with idea. They know exactly where to go for a join function, where to go for a duplicate function, where to go for adding a new column, so on and so forth. So by keeping the iconology at a same location, what they have done is they have introduced new icons, they have introduced new color scheme, they have introduced new shortcuts, and thereby they have streamlined the navigations through idea. Reduce time and efforts by automating the manual and repetitive tasks, which we have also covered earlier, wherein we can reduce your audit cycle time by automating the mundane work with the help of scripts and macros in idea. And these scripts not only reduce time, but it will also increase your audit efficiency. How? Since all these activities are predefined, the methodology, the SOPs are predefined, there is more consistency in terms of your audit, because there are standard areas that you are consistently reviewing for a particular client, or in terms of a live company. There are defined areas which you are evaluating month on month, quarter on quarter. And what is also important is that since everything is defined, there is very less dependency on users, or in a way, there is very less inputs which have been required at a user level. And hence, it will also help in the decentralization of work as well, because there is very limited dependency on user champion. So once a user champion creates a macro, and he can deploy the macro to the other team members, who can just run the macro maybe for the next review period by importing a new data set. So everything will work sequentially, and they can review the same area with minimum efforts and minimum understanding maybe of the situation. So that there is more decentralization and delegation that you can attain using this automation part in idea. Maximizing efficiency and ensure data security with the new hybrid capability. Again, another very powerful capability which has been added in the newer version of idea, which is hybrid capability. Now, what is hybrid? It basically is a capability which is now built in idea, which allows users to access web enabled content or web enabled resources within idea itself for a better experience ultimately. Again, so these content could be ready-made scripts, it could be a custom function, it could be a guidance note, even it could be video tutorial. Again, something which is of interest of every idea user, that all those videos which we have in Passport, you can now access those videos on the go while working on idea within idea environment itself. So what they have actually done is that they have created a capability wherein those external browser tabs can be created now within idea itself. So earlier, idea users, if they want to access something on the Passport, they have to minimize idea, then open the browser externally, or through idea Passport they have to navigate to a Passport knowledge repository website, then put their credentials, then search a particular thing, maybe your videos, and then watch it externally. And there is also a risk that in certain sensitive business premises, they have a restricted internet access, wherein they also have restrictions in terms of accessing this content as well, because they are not having an open source internet. So now, since everything is built in within idea itself, it is more secured, it is more convenient for a user, and all the activities, right from downloading a new version of idea or locating references or a white papers, you are no longer dependent separately on the browser. Everything can be done within idea environment itself. improve reporting and collaboration through powerful working paper integration. Again, a very big improvement which we have seen in the newer version of IDEA is seamless integration with the audit documentation solution by Caseware, which is working papers. So earlier, both these tools were standalone tools, wherein if you want to take something from IDEA and attach it to your working paper, you have to externally export that particular document, maybe in a PDF, and then open that particular location in PDF, and then drag and drop it within working papers. But now they have created a direct connect from your home screen itself, wherein you can whatever exceptions that you have created in IDEA, or whatever finding reports or exception reports that you have created within IDEA, you can directly pump that particular report in the working papers seamlessly. So that is again something which is a great value addition for all the users who are having both these platforms in place. Deliver faster, more accurate insights for better informed decisions. We are actually going to explore this particular point more in detail when we talk about the case studies. But ultimately, the new version 12 is set to be more faster as compared to the earlier versions, because they've also introduced certain additional functionalities like quick summarization, which are now which can deliver the output now much more faster as compared to the earlier versions. And ultimately, again, that is something which will increase the user, enhances the user experiences overall. So this is something from a benefit point of view. Now let us jump on to the actual coverage, or the interesting topics why we are here. So now as I said, there are 4 different case studies that we have picked up for this evening. And the first case study which we are going to look is discuss accounting stream, how we can use IDEA software or a data analytics software into a statutory reconciliation part. Okay, so there was a leading private sector bank which was having a pan-India presence, and there were over hundreds of branches which they have. They wanted to streamline their GST reconciliation process, and they accurately wanted to track the GST credit availment on the accounting entries, both on expenses part and the income stream part. And here the biggest challenge what they had is of the transaction. So now all of you can imagine that for a pan-India present bank, even their daily transactions may run into few hundred thousands. And here we are talking about a monthly GST reconciliation. So the data was used, it was running into few million entries per month. And before introduction of a sophisticated technology like IDEA, they had a 5-member staff which was working purely on this particular activity of reconciliation. And that particular team was investing almost 25 days every month of doing only this particular activity. But with the introduction of IDEA software, we will also see how they have got benefited. So all of you who have done reconciliation in your respective business area, all of you will appreciate to this point that the major challenge in this type of reconciliation is to get the data in a comparable format. And when we talk about GST ledger reconciliation with the GST portal filings, I'm talking about 2A and 3B, which have been filed by 2 different accounting teams altogether. And the biggest culprit or the biggest challenge in this kind of a reconciliation is your column containing information about your invoice numbers, because that is something which is a human entered field, and you can see there is a lot of inconsistency in terms of data feeding in that particular column. So we have taken one example wherein there was one invoice number ABC/123//2023-22-23, and in another set of account or another set of data wherein the same invoice number was entered as ABC 123-202223/#. So the invoice number was same, but the way it was entered in the data was not correct, or it was different than the earlier one. And naturally, if we use a VLOOKUP in Excel or we use join function in IDEA, we cannot establish a relationship between these two invoice numbers because the structure is different. So I am going to address this particular query at the end of this particular session, wherein we will also see how we can use IDEA software for data cleanup, and ultimately, how we can use a join function to complete this particular reconciliation. So they have replaced this particular activity in IDEA. And what they have also done is they have converted this particular activity in a script or as a macro. And what they have achieved is, first of all, they have detected more than 50 millions of an improved GST credit detection availment. And secondly, what is more important is that since they have automated this particular process, and now the process is driven by a very powerful technology, they have reduced the cycle time of this particular of this reconciliation from almost 100 man days per month to just one man day at the end of the automated reconciliation. So that is a power of the tool, wherein earlier the same activity was been done by 5 team members investing 25 days a month, whereas the same activity is now been done by just a single member in the team by just triggering one ready-made program, and everything is happening on its own. And maybe in few hours of time, they were being able to successfully get that particular reconciliation in place. So a GST reconciliation, a TDS reconciliation, a stock reconciliation, you can actually use IDEA software for all of these independent reconciliations out there. The second case study what we have taken is from the stream of a ratio analysis. So now there was a management of a leading consumer package company who had a new business opportunity, wherein they have got an opportunity of acquiring a new startup packing company for 20 crore rupees as an annual discount of 6%. Now, what they have also projected is for the upcoming 3 years, they are expecting a generation of a revenue of 60 lakh, 80 lakhs and 1 crore with an additional investment of 50,000 rupees for the next year in the machinery maintenance. So now there are various ways through which these business decisions can be taken, and as I said earlier, IDEA provides a concrete methodology or concrete basis for taking these rational or more informed business decisions. So from a ratio analysis point of view, there are multiple ratios which are readily available in IDEA. Something like a declining balance depreciation, double declining depreciations, future value, NPV, rate calculations. And all of these are ready-made programs wherein you just need to put these values in the syntax and automatically those ratios are calculated. And typically for this particular activity, the management has decided to evaluate the IRR, which is an internal rate of return, wherein they have decided that if for this particular business, if the IRR is more than 10%, they will go ahead with the business and they will acquire the new firm. Okay, so what they have done is they have put all these values of 60 lakh, 80 lakh, 1 crore, and the expected estimated rate of 10%. So once they have put all these values in the place in that particular equation editor, and they have built that particular ratio through a equation editor by adding a new field, they were able to take a more strategic and more informed decision of not investing in that particular company. Why? Because the calculated rate of return, the internal rate of return, was much lower. It was actually negative when it comes to the new business process. So rather than having complex calculations in Excel, IDEA offers you an option wherein with few clicks you can actually generate these ratios quite effectively. And in a similar fashion, there was another example wherein another business process has used this particular IIR method to take a decision about whether to purchase or rent a particular equipment. So we all know there are project management companies and construction companies wherein the equipment cost is very huge. So what they typically do is they do similar kind of a work wherein they calculate the internal rate of return of a particular investment in an equipment, and if the investment is if the rate is positive or it is very high, typically say 15 or 20, they go ahead with the capital investment and they actually buy these equipments within the firm. Alternatively, if the rate is negative or if the rate is very low, like say 1%, 2%, 5%, in that particular case, they better keep that particular investment on a operation basis, wherein they take it on a rental basis from the vendors. So these are some of the business decisions that you take with the example of these ratio analysis. So ratio analysis is actually an effort that an accounting team or other professional team takes to predict what is going to be happening in a future on more statistical ground, and that is something which you can accurately do within IDEA environment. Okay, so this is a second example that I want to quote here. The third case is also on a ratio analysis. So typically there are two types of ratio analysis that you can do, financial ratios and operational ratios. So the earlier example that we have taken was from a financial ratio side. Currently what we are going to look at is more from an operational side of ratios, wherein we are going to see inventory kind of a ratio that you can develop over here. So here what we have taken an example of is insurance company. So the management of a leading insurance company in India, they wanted to know an incurred claim ratio of all the branches. So what is this unclaimed claim ratio? This is also something which they have to also report to IRDA as well. That is one of the regulatory report or regulatory ratio that they want to calculate, and they want to report to the government body, the governing body as well. And what they have to do is they have to calculate this particular ratio on a monthly basis. And what was the intention of this particular activity is to identify and categorize high risk branches. So the challenge over here again was the insurance company was having over 100 plus branches in the country. And again, we can all imagine the kind of volume that an insurance zones will have. And here we are talking about a combined data of 100 plus branch for insurance company at pan India presence. So their transactions were running into millions every month. So now let us first understand what this particular incurred claim ratio. It is basically the overall value of every claim a company has paid divided by the total sum of premium collected during the same period. So how much I have paid as a claim and how much I have received as a premium. The ratio of paid to received is something which we called as incurred claim ratio. And this ratio of claim paid to the premium collected was calculated by creating a branch wise summary file, because the intention of the company was to create this particular ratio on a branch level on a monthly basis. So first of all, since the data was combined and it was having hundreds of branches, first we have to create a summary file wherein we use a summarization function and create a summary file and get the total premium collected and the claims settled branch wise, month wise. And then using the virtual field option and the ready-made ratios in IDEA, by doing some arithmetical calculations of regular arithmetical calculation of ratio, they have calculated that particular ratio branch level. And here what management has decided is that wherever the ratio is above 100, which means, say for example, my claim paid is say 200 and my premium collected is 100. So now the ratio is 200. So wherever the ratio is more than 100, all those branches were categorized as high risk branches. And what they have also done is they have done a detailed audit of all these branches, and what they have identified is that in some of these branches some borderline claims were rejected deliberately just to sustain that particular branch, because any which ways the outward flow of that particular branch is much more than the inward flow, and just to sustain that particular branch, what they were doing is they were rejecting some borderline claims on some or the other reasons. So this kind of a detailed review or investigations also is something that you can do with the help of these ratio analysis in IDEA. And now the fourth case study which we have is on a consolidation part. So there was a leading hospitality company who owns a chain of hotels in a country. So they were maintaining these expenses at a property level. So we all know that there is a property manager in every property, and these typical accounting ledgers are maintained at a property level or at a location level. So they have over 20 properties in the country, and they have to consolidate these accounting ledgers at an HO level and finalize the statement of account. So these expense ledgers which are received from the properties were combined together as a single expense ledger using the ready-made append command in IDEA. So what is append? It is basically a vertical incorporation of multiple individual data sets in IDEA, and wherein all your expense IDs, your descriptions, your narrations, your amount columns were arranged one below the other. So if you have, say, 20 properties, you have opened any one property and add another expense ledger of 19 location one below the other. So it's a single merge file of all the 20 locations at one stretch. And then what they have done is basically they have created a property wise trial balance statement by doing a consolidation as a combined group trial balance, which then was categorized and profiled and summarized into different groups and schedules and financial statements. So the profit and loss and balance sheet representation was done on that. So this process of consolidation from trial balance property wise to a group financial statement help the corporate team with more transparent and fact-based timely financial modeling and more data-driven financial decision making, because since the information was segregated at a property level, once we have everything combined, we can take more informed strategic decisions wherein we have consolidated everything into a single statement. So this is one example of a consolidation that we have. We can have a branch level consolidation. We can have a SB level, a strategic business unit level consolidation, and a group consolidation. So all those accounting consolidations of ledgers, of expense data, everything can be performed using the append option within IDEA. Okay, so these are the some of the case studies which I wanted to discuss today. Apart from this, I also want to touch upon some other functions. So in the reconciliation part, we spoke about a join function wherein you can compare two data sets, maybe a 2A with 3B. But what if we have a single 26As and multiple form 16A? I cannot repeat this particular activity of lookup and join multiple times. Say, for example, if there are 100 employees in my branch, I cannot do this activity 100 times or 99 times. Then what we can also rely upon is a function called visual connector, which will actually allow you to bring all those 99 independent form 16A in a single panel, and you can create a link with your basic 26As, wherein you have a summary level data, and form 16 will have a monthly calculation, and then you can actually do a validation whether the proper taxes are being calculated or not. So that kind of validation or that kind of a reconciliation wherein you have multiple files can also be performed using a visual connector function in IDEA. we have something from a trend analysis as well. So what we have also, what is also possible, that we have a case of a hospital wherein they were having a lot of expense fields, and they want to streamline their expense data, and they want to identify any particular type of expenses are having a sudden dip or a increase in a particular month, just to establish a trend and do a better forecasting in terms of resource allocation maybe. So what they have done is they have used the same function visual connector, wherein there are a lot of expenses which may go up and down, something like medical supply expenses, or doctor visiting charge expenses, or staff conveyance expenses. So we can see a lot of variation in these type of expenses. Something like a facility expenses, like telephone expenses, internet expenses, electric expenses, will be more consistent throughout the year. But these type of expenses may have certain variations over a period of time, and that kind of a trend you can establish by using a visual connector. What is also very nice and idea is that we also have a visualization capability, wherein once you have horizontally connected multiple months, you can actually use a chart function in idea, wherein you can create a display something like this, which I'm casting on my screen, wherein just by looking at these charts you can easily make out what is wrong in a particular month, or which particular expense is having an unusual performance in a particular month, so on and so forth. So rather than charts, rather than tables, I'm sorry, charts will actually give you more easy interpretation of your information, because we all know picture speaks louder than the data. So that is something which we have. So this is one of the screen wherein we are showcasing you an append function, wherein you can have a lot of individual data sets which you can combine together with the append function. And what is nice here is that there is no no restriction on these documents. So any number of files can be vertically appended together using the append function out here. Similarly, we also have a function wherein you can establish a relationship between two interdependent fields in your data. Continuing with the same example of a hospital, wherein we have the number of OPD counts against we have the revenue generated through an OPD. So in a regular sense, if the count of patients is increasing, even the revenue should also increase. So that kind of a relationship can be established between the two, and accordingly projections can be taken place. And again, we can take help of chart, wherein we can graphically represent those correlation between fields. We have a ready-made statistical technique called correlation, wherein we can have a correlation score for different business aspects. Similarly, we can also have a graphical representation for that as well. So this is something which I want to address. Now what I can also do is maybe for the next 5 minutes, I am going to take one live case study on the reconciliation part, and it's a quick walkthrough how you can do a reconciliation, and how we can address a couple of challenges that we have that we get in the reconciliation activity, and how you can overcome that using idea software. Okay, so let me just open idea copy first. So this is my idea. Let me import the data as well. So all of you will appreciate that we will have two different data sets over here. One data will be the in-house company data. So this is the in-house GST ledger which I'm having over here. And secondly, I have a data which I have downloaded from the website, the 3B data. So this data, both these data will typically have the similar information. We'll have the GST number, we'll have the invoice number, we have the source state, destination states, and the three GST amounts, the IGST amount, the CGST amount, and the SGST amount. And the same information we have in a second data set as well. And now, as we have earlier discussed, now the trickiest part over here is to compare these two values. So the values present in the vendor invoice from a company data against the values which are present in the invoice number field in the site data. So if I just visibly put both these files together, you can see here we have data in an uppercase, wherein one file may have data in a lowercase. We have a lot of special characters that you can see over here. You have forward slash, you have dash, you have dots, you have any like stars, spaces, a lot of inconsistency that you can find between these two columns. So the first activity as an auditor that we need to do, or as a professional that we need to do, is first we need to clean this particular data and make it in a comparable format. So what I can do is I can go to data and click on add. So since idea has read only access to the data, so I cannot make any modification in the base data, so I need to add a virtual field. So let me call it as a vendor invoice clean. It will be a virtual character field because it's an alphanumerical data that you can see over here. I can give a length of 50, and to clean my data, there are certain ready-made programs which are available in Idea software called as add functions. So all of you have seen functions in Excel. Similarly, in Idea also we have these functions. So for this particular activity, I'm going to use two functions. One is called @strip, which is basically a specialized function wherein it will remove all the special characters, unwanted spaces, punctuations from the data. And I'm going to nest it with another function called as @upper. So as the name suggests, this will convert all your characters into an uppercase. And within the field, we'll say vendor invoice. And what we get here is a purely alphanumerical data without any special characters. This is my clean column. I will replicate the same thing for my other data set as well, wherein I go to data and add invoice number clean. Here we have the same thing. We'll add a length of 50 and the same programs over here, @strip, @upper, and invoice number. So now you can see here, now I'm having data in a comparable format. This is quite identical to this information because all the garbage has been removed. So now I can go ahead and I can now do my reconciliation. So I can go to analysis and I click on join. So join is a function wherein I can do a horizontal comparison of two files. It's like a lookup in Excel. So I open my primary file over here, which is my company data. I bring up my secondary data, which is a site data, click on matches and create a link between these two. So what will be common between these two files? Firstly, it will be the GST number. And secondly, now this is something which is very important. You need to select the virtual fields this time for the connection. So vendor invoice clean against invoice number clean. This is very important step. So now we are creating a link with our GST number and the clean invoice number fields. And what is also very nice here is that unlike lookup, which may give me only one type of results, which is all records in primary file, I have ready-made reconciliation options available here. So no need to do further activities on the lookup by filtering NAs and blanks. What I can actually instruct software is to give me only matches, which will ultimately give me only the reconciled records. So I can click on matches only as an option and give my file name as reconciled records. And out of these 8 records, I can see over here, I'm getting 5 exact reconciled transactions over here separately. What I can also do is, along with this, I'm also interested in identifying the unreconciled records. So I just click on this rerun and there are 2 more options: records with no secondary match and records with no primary match. So if I select an option, records with no secondary match, what I typically get is transactions which are missing from site data. present in primary file, not in secondary file. So missing from site data. So this is a ready-made report which I'm getting over here. And one more time, I'm rerunning this particular function by selecting the third option and completing my two-way match over here, wherein I'm going to capture missing transactions from company books. So these are the transactions which have been there in the site, but these transactions are missing from your internal books. So this is how, by using matches only, records with no secondary match and records with no primary match, ready-made connecting options, I can do my two-way reconciliation quite seamlessly, wherein I'm having one file for reconciled records and two independent files for unreconciled records. Okay, so this is how we can do our reconciliation effectively using IDEA software. So I think if there are any questions, then we may take up questions now.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think the way you have prepared the slides with the use cases and demonstrated a very important activity of GST reconciliation. As fellow IDEA users, we are always used to detecting controls which are failing or high risk audit events, red flags, doing a lot of cost rationalization, revenue maximization through IDEA. But, for a very first time, we've actually seen real world accounting applications in terms of reconciliation, statutory reconciliation, ratio analysis, consolidation. And, you gave some real powerful case studies where the organizations benefited from those activities in a very big way. So really, really nice. Friends, are there any questions you would like to put to Saurabh based on his presentation or even the use case demonstration which he did towards the end of his session? You can either place your question in the chat, or you can write it in the Q&A section and we'll be happy to take it up. Or anyone would like to share their illustration of how they went about doing ratio analysis or consolidation or reconciliation, something which they would like to share, they are most welcome to put it in the chat box and we can then narrate it to the rest of the group. So Saurabh, there's a very positive feedback which has come in from Mr. Shiv Kumar at ISRO. He's always attended all our webinars and Absolutely. He has complimented your session, saying very informative, very enlightening, especially the statutory compliance activity of GST.
Thank you, sir.
There is a comment from a participant Redmi. I'm not sure who the user is, but they've said that in the earlier case study of GST reconciliation, we have mentioned some add-on alphabet in GST invoice. So, Saurabh, maybe you can just talk about the need to use the strip and upper command once again. I think that's what the user is referring to.
Yes. So typically in this particular case, as I've showcased this, so there is a ready-made command called strip. So strip is basically a command wherein you can get rid of all the unwanted special characters, punctuations, spaces in between, special characters, everything like this. So if something of that sort is present in your data, then you can use a command called strip, wherein it will give you a new field wherein all of that unwanted things are removed and you are end up only on purely alphanumerical data set. And similarly, the upper function will convert all your lowercase characters into also an uppercase, because the case sensitivity is also an issue that we have to address while creating a connection between two data sets. So a combination, a nested function of @ strip and upper is the most suitable combination wherein you can get rid of all those unwanted issues in your data set.
Saurabh, I think that's well explained. There's an addendum to what Redmi said earlier, that what if the accountant puts an additional digit, like a number or a letter, and gives it a new identity altogether, where strip and upper by itself will not work. So what is the option there? Do we have a workaround in idea there? So like ABC 1 to 3 in the books of accounts,
Correct.
and ABC 1 to 3 maybe 20 to 23 in the portal. So how do we take care of that? Is there any workaround there?
Sure. Okay, got it. They have also put an example, right? So A5153 and AB5153.
So if I could take up that, because we had a chance to work on this Redmi. So when you have this case where there's an additional digit or an additional digit, which could be a character or number, what we normally need to do is you can then do it on the GST number with the amount, right? So if the invoices are not going to map out, you can even do it on the amount. And you'll notice that there are cases where the amounts will kind of match up. And that would help you in further screening the data and bringing the unreconciled items down. So that's the best workaround we can think of in IDEA. Saurabh, there's another useful positive feedback from D. Thakkar. He said, "Excellent presentation, sir. Keep doing great work." So that's nice.
Thank you.
And Saurabh, you can just put your email ID in the chat box for the benefit of everyone. So if they have any further follow-up questions, they can always write into you.
Yeah.
You can put it in the chat box.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think Saurabh's displayed that for the benefit of everyone. So friends, if there are no further questions, we would like to thank all of you for taking out time and being with us. Yes, Rakesh ji, you have a question. Redmi, you can write into Saurabh, please, and he'll guide you offline, because we've still not fully understood your requirement. So you can send in your question to Saurabh on his email ID on screen, and he'll be happy to reply to you, please.
Yes, certainly.
Rakesh ji, can you put your question? I can see you've raised your hand, and we'll be happy to take your question if you can put it in the chat. I am not sure if he... Yeah, sure, we could do that. We'll do that. We'll have more future sessions on practical examples. Thank you for that suggestion. And friends, once again, thanks for being with us. Look forward to seeing all of you all on next Wednesday for the 52nd episode. And have a wonderful evening and a good day ahead for the overseas speakers. And Saurabh, once again, thanks for a very nice session from your side with a lot of practical inputs and takeaways. So good wishes to everyone. And thank you for supporting Analytics Wednesday.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. Have a great evening ahead.
Thanks, Saurabh. Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Stay safe.